Hi, I'm Chuck Joyner, and this is a MacVoices briefing about some of the things that are going on with MacVoices right now. First, the Twitter hack. As you may know, my Twitter account was hacked a few weeks ago. I'm happy to let you know, though, that now I'm back in control of that account, so any messages you receive from @ChuckJoyner really are me. I'm sorry for the problem. It was one of those things that, happily, I learned a few lessons, but it was beyond my control, but that's been resolved, so we can put that one behind us. But I will say this, if you don't use strong passwords, and definitely if you don't turn on two-factor authentication, please do so right now. Second thing is the Overcast situation. As many of you know, again from articles I've published in the MacVoices Dispatch, there is a problem with the MacVoices feed in the Overcast podcast player. Don't know what it is, and the short version of this is that I've tried to fix it numerous times with no success. The feed seems to be hung up on a particular episode from July of this year, won't load anymore, won't resolve, nothing. I've actually taken that episode and a couple episodes around it out of the feed to see if that would help. But it appears that Overcast caches some of the feeds, and whether the caches become corrupt or gotten stuck, I'm not quite sure. But the feed does function just fine in iTunes. It functions just fine in every other podcast player that I've tried. Downcast, Apple's podcast player, everything else. And a number of you have very generously helped me test things out with no success. So at this point, I'm kind of stuck. I don't know what else to tell you. If you are so inclined, you can send a tweet to Overcast's Twitter account and see if you can get Marco Arment to make a correction, if that is the problem. If not, if you have any ideas, I'd love to know what they are. But at this point, I don't have any other suggestions than to access MacVoices through other means, through other podcast accounts. You can obviously see the postings on Facebook and Twitter. You can see the links in the MacVoices Dispatch. I'm sorry for the inconvenience, but this one seems to be beyond my control at this point. The last thing I wanted to update you on is that I've created a Patreon campaign for MacVoices. I've been thinking about doing this for a while and was held back, but after some conversations with some of the viewers and listeners and discussing why I haven't done it, they kind of convinced me that it would be a good thing. My hesitation has been that I like to create content that everyone has access to. It seems just a little counterproductive to spend time creating content that is exclusive, is behind a paywall or a support wall of any kind. So that's one of the reasons I fought it. Also, it seems a little strange to me to if I send $1 to someone to help support what they're doing through Patreon, it's not made a lot of sense to me to have them send me something back that costs 20 or 30 cents of that dollar. I'm sending the $1 to support it, and I'd rather have it go to the support. A lot of podcasts do that, and that's great if they're delivering things that you're into. So what has been suggested to me, and I'm going to follow the advice, is I'm going to ask you, what is a valuable thing that can realistically be created, whether it's content, whether it is private chats, email bulletins. I've got a few ideas of my own, but I'd like to hear from you. Obviously, I'd like to have your support of the show. It will help me do more things, better things, bigger things, help bring you more information that you can use with your Apple technology. But I want to find out what's important to you. It seems counterproductive for me to create a t-shirt that maybe you really don't want. If you do, great. I'll create a Spreadshirt account and we'll figure out something. But at this point, I'd love to have your suggestions as to what kind of rewards or benefits that you would like to see that would encourage you to support MacVoices, maybe beyond a minimal level. So at this point, you can visit macvoices.com/support, or you can visit patreon.com/MacVoices and show your support for MacVoices. If you're getting value out of the show, if you're getting information, or hopefully even just entertainment, I'd really appreciate your support. And if you have suggestions on what kind of things would make good awards or rewards, email me at chuck@macvoices.com, or again, back at my Twitter account @ChuckJoyner. Of course, there are other ways that you can support the show. The show notes contain Amazon links for many of the products we talk about. If you buy through those links, it doesn't cost you anything extra, but does help support the show a little bit, gives me a little bit of kickback. Of course, any reviews you can give me on iTunes for the audio or video versions are greatly appreciated because that just helps spread the word. And of course, if you can just tell friends directly about MacVoices, that you heard something interesting, learned something from us, that helps as well. Also, any sharing you do on social media of the show announcements also spreads the word a little bit and maybe gets to someone that hasn't heard about us or hasn't visited us for a while. So with that, I really appreciate your support. We will move into the future with a Patreon campaign and see how it goes. And again, if you have ideas, let me know. Until the next time, and as always, thanks for your support, thanks for watching, and thanks for listening. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes, links to subscribe, and to connect with Chuck on Twitter, Google+, Facebook, YouTube, Vimeo, SoundCloud, the MacVoices blog, the MacVoices Dispatch, our weekly newsletter, and on MacVoices Magazine, free on Flipboard that helps you do more with your Apple tech. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com, bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.